But I want to start in Matthew 13. Learning how to learn is what we've been teaching on, and we've been giving a couple lessons on what different types of knowledge we would have, and so we're looking at that, and that's the first thing we kind of went into as we continue on. Here we go. All right, and so. We're learning about being wise and learning about the beginning of knowledge and all these different things. But today I want to talk about why some people can't learn. And we might finish or we might not today. Got a lot of stuff in here. Why some people can't learn. You will go through your phase in your life, probably, or you did, where you couldn't learn. Now, you could learn 2 + 2 is 4 and, 6 × 6 is 36 and stuff like that. And, a verb and an adverb is and all those things. But there's a time when you really, and even that you can not learn for a while. And once you understand this principle here, it helps you with people. It helps you not knock your head against the wall with people when they will not be able to learn. And because there are phases, we get foolish, we can't learn, and phases people get into. And so I would say, I would guess in a room full of 100 people, you would have 98 of those are limited in how they can learn, at least to some extent. There might be 2 people who can completely learn. Now, a whole bunch of those people can 80% learn, and that's probably what most of us are. But we're limited in certain ways in our ability to learn, and it's a terrible thing because that 20% or 10% you can't learn. Not because I'm not talking about an IQ problem. I'm talking about your approach and who you'll let teach you and how you pick things up and whether you're searching for knowledge, all those things. That might be what you really needed to learn. And so, sometimes God sends a messenger that you don't like. And you won't be able to learn from that messenger because of your pride and things like that. And so just a few things here. Let's go to Matthew 13. Let's read verses 13 through 15. Therefore I speak unto them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Elias, which saith, by hearing ye shall hear and see, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see and shall not perceive. For these people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. Let's pray. Lord, we're thankful for the word. We're thankful for the chance to be together, and I pray today we'd gain some wisdom about failures in ourselves, or things we need to understand about others, or things we need to fix, or all those things, Lord, that will help us to be great learners, to be able to learn in life. Lord, I pray your Spirit would speak to us, and I pray that the word of God would be powerful, and we would understand your truths. Thank you, Lord, for all you give us. Thank you for all the truth you give us. And I pray we would grasp it and understand it. I pray that I would have your words and you would impact us now, Lord, with truth about learning. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. So the Pharisees here, it says they have ears, but they're not going to really hear. And they're going to have eyes, but they're not going to really see. And so in church today, we have an exceptional church and things. So most people in our church will be able to learn. We'll be able to get that. But we might have somebody come in here, or somebody who's had a certain kind of week, or somebody who's the devil's gotten a hold of you or whatever. And your ears like to hear every word I say. But you will not get what I'm saying. For example, the Pharisees, no matter what Jesus said, were like, oh, so you're saying we don't need Moses? He's like, no, that's not at all what I said. When they accused the disciples, they kept on saying, you're trying to destroy the temple and the law. They said, no, Jesus is here to fulfill it. But what they heard was skewed by where their heart was. Okay? And so they could hear the words, but hearing the words didn't mean they understood it. It said they hear and they would not hear, and see and they would not see, and so they could not see that. So they aren't going to get it no matter what because of that situations. And so first of all, sometimes because of hard hearts. Their hard hearts. Verse 15, for these people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes have they closed. Okay, so when you have someone, there's just a time when somebody's heart is hard. Now, why their heart is hard is a vast spectrum. Okay, sometimes somebody wants to do something bad, and so no matter what you tell them, they're not going to listen to you. And you were probably like that at a certain point in your life. You wanted to do something, somebody tried to warn you, you said, no, you don't, and you didn't hear them. They didn't know what they were talking about. Doesn't matter how old they were, doesn't matter how wise they were, they didn't know what they're talking about. And because why? Because you wanted to do that, so you harden your heart to it. Okay, you close your eyes, and that's what people do. Sometimes because you don't like somebody, and you don't like the messenger, and so it doesn't matter what they say, you're not going to listen to them. Sometimes because somebody says something a certain way, and you harden your heart because they said it a certain way. So if I get up, if a certain preacher came into our church, and this guy was just a mean preacher, and he got up here and said, I want you to know you guys are a bunch of stinking heathens. I'm going to preach about your wicked sin. You bunch of deadbeats. Half of you wouldn't. He could preach the best truth in the entire history of the world. Half of you wouldn't believe it and wouldn't listen and wouldn't accept it. Because your heart would be hard. Because of the messenger. Okay? And that should make the messenger realize that brother offended his heart to be one in a strong city. Okay, a messenger should realize if I say things wrong, people who aren't completely mature will not receive it. Now, okay, if you are mature enough, which very few people are, you would say, well, this guy's kind of a jerk, but I'm going to listen to every word he says because I might get something. But very few people would do that. Okay, very few people are wise enough, are desperate enough for truth to do that. Okay, they click, radio's off, and anyway, let's look at let's look at let's see if we can read the nameplate on the projector up there while he's talking, because I'm not listening to what he's saying. And what can I do to pass the time until a nice guy like Pastor Byram gets up? And you would do that. And so you have that. And so you would do that because why? Because your heart got hardened. Okay? Your heart got hardened. And and so for whatever reason somebody's heart gets hardened, there's many reasons it does, instantly you are not able to learn. Jesus was talking to the disciples, telling them the most amazing truth. And it says the multitudes were astounded. The people from his hometown said, where did he get this wisdom? And everybody's like, wow. And the Pharisees saying, he's talking about us. And I don't believe him. And he's just trying to destroy Moses. And you know what you're really trying to say? Let's try to trick him and get him. Why? Because their hearts were hard. They didn't want to hear it. And they didn't want to hear what he had to say. They were hard-hearted. And so they never, the Pharisees, no matter how many miracles, you read these things, you look at Acts 3, here's this man who's never walked, he's in his 40s, and now he's running around leaping and praising God, and all they can do is criticize, and they never even think about the miracle. What did this man say when he healed you? Who is he? Do you follow him? Not, hey, this is great, you're walking. Never. Because they didn't want to receive anything Jesus said. And because their hearts were hard. And it challenged their position, their authority, what they wanted to do. And so sometimes we cannot learn because our hearts were hard. The Son of God can be there. The disciples can be doing miracles. It does not matter if your heart is hard. If someone's heart is hard, understand you will not come up with a good enough argument. You will not be able to logic with them. It does not. That's one of the things. To me, logic is just so, okay, this is right. This is clear. This is what you should do. This is stupid. This is dumb. This is right. This is smart. This is what works. This is what doesn't work. This is what happens when people do this. To me, it just seems like, how can you not see this? It's so obvious. But, and I have tried, and let me rephrase it a different way, because it is so obvious. But you know what? The logic is not going to get through if their hearts are hard. And you will, the Bible says, look, if you argue against a fool, it doesn't matter, no matter what you do, you're going to get a blot to yourself and they're going to hate you. It's just going to happen because their heart's hard. And so you understand that. Number two, why sometimes we do not learn. We do not learn because sometimes people do not want to hear the truth. Let's look at John 8. They don't want to hear the truth. John chapter 8. And verse 37. I'll read verses 37 through, it's a long passage, through 47. But Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, and they've been nipping at him, and he's been preaching the truth, and they've been criticizing and kind of trying to catch him and stuff like that. And finally, they just have it out in John 8. And Jesus just talks directly to them and lets them have it, and they just argue with him and tell them why they think they're right. And so John 8's a very intense chapter of the Pharisees and Jesus having it out. By the way, those who say Jesus was always peaceful and never said anything negative, you didn't read John 8. He's pretty rough on them. And we won't even read the hard parts, by the way. But this is this chapter. Verse 37, it says, I know you're Abraham's seed, but you seek to kill me because my word hath no place in you. I speak that which I have seen with my father, and you do that which ye have seen with your father. They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Jesus said unto them, if you were Abraham's children, ye would do the works of Abraham. But now ye seek to kill me, a man that hath told you the truth, which I have heard of God. This did not Abraham. Ye do the deeds of your father. They said unto him, we be not born of fornication. We have one father, even God. They said, look, we're from Abraham. And he says, you're doing the works of your father. They said, yeah, our father's Abraham. We're Jewish. And he says, no. You're doing the works of your father, and Abraham is not your father because Abraham didn't do what you're doing. Abraham didn't seek to kill prophets and teachers and the Son of God. In verse 41, you do the deeds of your father. They said, we're not born of fornication. We have one father, and that's God, and we're from Abraham. We're Jewish. We're saved. They believe they were saved by grace. They believe they were saved by race, not grace. And because they were Jewish, and they were automatically of God. And many Jews received Christ and listened to Christ, but the Pharisees didn't. They trusted in their background was enough. Like many people say, I come from a Christian family. You do the deeds of your father. In verse 42, Jesus said, if God were your father, you would love me. For I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I from myself, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my speech? Even because you cannot hear my word. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father will you do. For he was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there was no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. For he is a liar and the father of lies, and because I tell you the truth, ye believe me not. Which of you convinceth me of sin? And I say that, if I say the truth, why do ye not believe me? He that is of God heareth God's word. Ye therefore hear them not, because ye are not of God. And so Jesus says, you don't really want to hear the truth. You don't want to hear the truth. Let me just take you just forward a little bit to Romans 1. They didn't want to receive the truth because they were of Satan, and Satan wanted them to, they wanted to believe a lie because it meant they kept their authority. That means they weren't going to be judged. That meant they don't need to be born again. That means what Jesus was saying was not true. And so they didn't want to believe all that. Romans 1 and verse 28. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over unto a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. What does that mean? They did not like to retain God in their knowledge. And so they said, I do not want to have God in my mind. Therefore, I will not believe in him, because then I do not have to answer to that accountability. I thought it was fascinating. I think his name's Richard Flew. I don't know the last name's right. And he was an atheist and argued. He argued with C.S. Lewis. He's been an atheist for 50 years. He argued with creationists, and he was an evolutionist. And finally, he came out, I guess, early 2000, and said, "You know what? I have to admit it. There's a God. There's a creator." And he said, "Look, I don't think he's like the God of the Bible. I don't know what he's like. I don't think he's some kind of strange dictator. But now that we see DNA, we see there's a designer." Now, he didn't become a Christian. He didn't get born again. But I admire the guy, because so many atheists and people who don't believe, they're atheists because they do not want accountability to a God. Somewhere along the way they got hurt. Somewhere along the way they did not want to follow God. Somewhere along the way, usually it's a Christian relative they want to hurt, so they became an atheist to hurt their Christian relative. Or because they had something in their life they did not want to yield to God. And somewhere along the way they don't want that accountability. They don't want to think that there's a hell and there's a heaven and there's judgment, all those things. And so they say, you know what, there is no God. That guy was programmed by the world and heard the certain things over and over and over. But he kind of looked and said, okay, by the way, there's a designer. You don't have to believe the Bible to believe, hey, look, this is designed. I can look at this pulpit and say this is designed. Let alone look at the human body and the human eye and the universe and the galaxy and everything else and say, yeah, something made that. That's not what random explosions look like. And so and so sometimes they just don't want to retain God in their knowledge. Sometimes they don't want to receive the truth because they do not want the accountability that it brings. Sometimes they do not want to hear the truth. They do not want to get there. Next, this is hard, but sometimes you cannot learn because you're a fool. Someone can't learn because they're a fool. And the Bible term for fool. When I say fool, people think I'm insulting somebody. No, there's a classification of a person called a fool in Proverbs. Let's go back to Proverbs. We'll be there most of the time. And this fool in Proverbs, the outstanding characteristic of him, and understand, it's not an insult like we would use the term. It's a classification of a person. Okay? You would say that person's a genius. Or you say that person is an incredible athlete. Okay? You're classifying somebody because of characteristics of them. When the Bible classifies a fool is a certain type of person, and the Bible very clearly tells what they're like and how they respond to things. Proverbs chapter 1 is talking about instruction and why Proverbs is written. We've read it both weeks we've been in this series before. It says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. They despise it. So, one of you comes up to me after the service and you say to me, and there were two ways to approach it, but you come to me and you say, Pastor, I really think that if you would stop adjusting the microphone when you're speaking, it really would help people listen. Okay? Now, I have two responses, and those tell you what kind of person I am. The first response is, I don't need you to talk to me. Look, I went to Bible college. I've been preaching for 30 years. I preach who do you think? You know what you're talking about. How many times have you preached? Okay. A fool despises any instruction. Now, you might be dead wrong. Okay, you ready? You might be dead wrong. But if I'm wise, I will listen to your instruction. I might go aside and say, I think they're wrong. But I'm not going to despise you trying to help me. Do you follow that? An insecure person or a fool would say, who do they think they are? Don't criticize me. And then what they do, a foolish person immediately attacks in their mind the person who brought the message. Who do they think they are? I bet if they stood up there, they'd be scared to death. How many times? And then they don't know what to do. And then you begin to attack them and criticize them and tear them down. Because listen, if I'm 5'8" and I cut your legs off, I'm now 6'5", right? Weak people think when they tear somebody else down, they get bigger. You do not get bigger because you tear somebody else down. You're still the same size. You get bigger by getting bigger. Okay? But insecure and foolish people tear down people so they can feel better about them not listening and being a fool. Oh yeah, what about them? They think they know everything. Well, you know what? They don't know anything. And then you begin attacking them and you find their faults. And you spend your whole time instead of saying, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do that. Or considering it and weighing the balance and saying, nah, they're wrong, but you know what? Thanks. But you tell them, hey, thanks. I'll think about that. Thanks for telling me. Maybe I'll watch a video and see what I do. That's what a wise person would do because they're seeking knowledge. They're seeking wisdom. And a child can instruct them. If you're really, really, really one of the very rare wise people who's desperately seeking wisdom, a child can walk up to you today and say, ma'am, can I talk to you about something? I think, ma'am, you spoke very meanly to that person. And if you're a fool, you say, you brat, get away from me. Who are you to talk to me? Where's your parents? I'm going to go take them to you. And grab them by the ear and drag them away. But a wise person might say, which person are you talking about that I was talking to? What did I say? How did I say it? And the 5-year-old teaches you, maybe, or the 5-year-old's wrong. But you listen, and what a wise person do is say, so you thought I glared at them and I said no harshly. Okay, thank you for telling me that. I'll think about that. And then you might walk up to your spouse and say, honey, a little kid came to me today and said, I said this kind of rudely and and this and that. And is that true about me? And your spouse will say, you don't know that about yourself? and then you will say, oh, maybe because you don't always see yourself real clearly. And you know what? I don't want to hurt people's feelings. And you know what? I might be doing it. So for little kids, the messenger God sends along to me. Look, God sent a donkey to Balaam. It's because they're foolish, and a fool despises wisdom and instruction. A fool despises it, and does that, and gets offended all the time. Look, I was a pastors' conference, a national pastors' conference with 6,000 delegates, and I was a pastor of this church. I started this church, and it's for maybe second year of this church, and I was just sitting out in the crowd, minding my own business. If you know me, I don't like to be noticed. I'm hiding in the crowd somewhere. And the pastor who's heading the entire thing gets up there and says, "I need a young pastor." And the morons next to me, my friends, said, "Right here, here's one." And I was a young pastor back then. And he said, "All right, come here, son." And he says, "Grab a chair, sit right in the middle of the 6,000 seat auditorium." Puts you right there in the middle. And he says, "Now," he says, I was at a conference and some young pastor came up and asked me a stupid question. You're going to be that pastor. I'm going to preach to you about this. And so for 45 minutes, he stood there in front of 6,000 people and said, "You stupid idiot. What do you think I did? You don't know anything. What question is that?" And stood there and yelled at me for 45 minutes. Like I was the guy who asked a dumb question. What do you do? Everybody's looking at you. Yeah, you idiot. I mean, that was me. You know what? I listened to the message. Nope, I got something out of it. Because I need to learn. And fools despise instruction. I already know. What does my mom know? What does my dad know? They don't know anything. What does a pastor know? He doesn't know anything. He's never sinned. He doesn't know. And all of a sudden, you start tearing people down. And what happens is somebody who can help you can't help you now. And you've shown yourself a fool because you despise instruction. Somebody in church will walk up to you and say, "You are living wickedly. You better knock it off." And he says, "Who you?" Instead of that, you say, "Tell me what I'm doing. I want to be right with God." Because a fool despises instruction. And you say, "Well, they shouldn't say it that way." Nope, shouldn't say it that way. Big deal. "Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them." And you're missing out on truth because you can't handle a messenger because you're insecure. Amen. And they despise wisdom and instruction. Sometimes, sometimes simple people love ignorance. Verse 22 of Proverbs 1. "How long will you simple ones when you love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge." Did you know I have learned, and I'm still learning, to let my kids teach me? Look, one kid might be having a bad day and be a grump and everything else, but if I have 2 or 3 of my kids that start saying no, and they start getting frustrated at something I'm doing over and over, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Yeah, I've tried to teach people over the years. Look, if you do things right, most people do not hate you. "All my neighbors are a bunch of jerks. They all hate me." I mean, the guy told me he had lived with 6 different women, been divorced multiple times, and I had to go and literally stand face to face with him why his girlfriend, who was scared to death, was moving her stuff out and stop him from attacking her. Okay, that's this guy. I remember him saying, "Stinking women are all idiots." It was never his problem, and that's look. I found you love a woman and treat her like a queen. I treat her like a queen and she just hates me. I'm not so sure about that. If I buy my wife my purses and dresses and bring her roses and stuff like that, I hate your guts. That's not what she does. Okay, sometimes you need to let life reprove you and learn things and let somebody teach you, and sometimes it's your mother-in-law. You say nobody can learn anything from mother-in-law. Most of the time, no. There are wicked creatures, I know, but occasionally, I mean, you gotta be able to learn. Fools despise. When I read verse 22, how long will you simple ones we love simplicity, and scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Fools hate knowledge. Look at verse 29. It says, "For they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They would none of my counsel. They despise all my reproof." So your son is there with the girl with purple hair and 2 kids from 2 different guys, and she's got needle marks all up or down her arms and 16 face rings, and she dropped out of dropped out of middle school, okay, and she just got out of prison, and you say, "Son, she's not the girl for you." "Who do you think you are? You're just trying to ruin my life." Why did your son say that? Yeah, I got up this morning, son, and decided I'm going to ruin my kids' life. I got a plan for my day. My goal today, ruin my kid's life. But you know why they think that? Because he's become a fool, because he just wants her and he doesn't want to hear the truth. And he won't care. And he'll despise your instruction. Why? Because for her, he became a fool. And when you're a fool, you'll despise anybody telling anything. Because I love her, and she's the one for me, and she loves me. And then they despise instruction, and you don't want to listen. And what you're going to do, just a heads up, you're going to someday tell your child, "My parents tried to tell me the same thing, and I didn't listen to them, and I messed up my life." That's what you're going to say someday, young person, just so you know that. That's what you're going to say to your kids someday. Okay, so why don't you be smart and say, "And I listened to my parents. I'm so glad I did," instead of, "I wish I wouldn't have. I didn't listen to my parents." And when you try to get it, and so you do that. And so, because fools hate knowledge, they don't want to learn. A fool just makes it all about himself. Proverbs 18. This is a fascinating verse. Honestly, I can preach 2 messages on Proverbs 18 and verse 2. It's a frustrating thing with people. Proverbs 18:2. "A fool hath no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself." Oh, I love that preaching. I really can't do this verse justice. But understand, most people, all they want to do is talk about themselves and why they do what they do. They do not want the knowledge of what to do and how to fix it. That's why they love counseling. Because counseling, you can sit there and talk about yourself and why you did what you did, instead of getting a solution. Okay? "But I'm this way because this, and I learned, and I'm this, and I'm me, and the reason I do this is because I'm this, and it's about me, and people don't understand me, and I do this because I'm me, and just trying to, it's all about themselves. They don't want instruction, they just want to know about themselves, so it becomes all about them. They will try to lead others astray, a foolish person will, chapter 10. And I want to hit this just for a second, because not only do they not get the knowledge they need, by the way, I have one of these in my own family. Not my wife and kids' family. I have one of these in my siblings. And he's older than me. And to this day, the mistakes he was making at 16 that made him drop out of high school makes it so he lives with mama. 10 years older than me. And everybody in the family has to help him financially. Same problem. And nobody's been able to teach him anything yet. His car wrecks and he's ruined. The only time my mom ever bought a new car in her entire life when he totaled it in 2 weeks. Okay. Same thing that made him wreck. Nobody ever teach him the wreck was his fault. And rear-ended the next person. It was the person he rear-ended's fault. And understand that's because people are foolish, they don't listen. Proverbs 10 verse 7, it says this: the memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. That's not the verse I want. Nope, that's not the verse I want. Let me look at just real quick, see if it is. Nope. We'll move on. So just a few things. We've got number one, sometimes you cannot learn because you have hard hearts. Sometimes people do not want to hear the truth. Sometimes because they're a fool. Number next, they're not wise enough to seek knowledge. Proverbs 18. Proverbs 18 and verse 15. The heart of the prudent getteth knowledge, but the ear of the wise seeketh knowledge. Seeks knowledge. Very important. Let's look at Proverbs 6. See, a simple person is a person who might be instructed and get knowledge. A fool will despise you when you give it. A wise man is going to seek knowledge. Is going to seek counsel. Is going to listen to everybody. It's going to seek out and go, I am trying to learn enough. Now, if you'll just be a person who will listen to instruction and wisdom from around you and just people God puts in your life, you will do okay if you just listen to instruction. But if you want to be a wise person, you got to seek knowledge. You got to seek wisdom. You got to be a seeker. In this church, we got a whole bunch of people who receive instruction. We got a great crowd. We have great people who listen and all those things. We get a few who are seeking instruction. I would say more than a few. We have an unusually high amount of that. And those people are going to become very wise in the end because they're actually seeking it. And all those things. Proverbs 6 and verse 6, it says, go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide nor overseer, provideth their meat in summer and gathereth their food in harvest. He says, yeah, you want to be wise? Go watch ants. Let an ant teach you how to prepare. When I was a kid, all I did with the ants was magnifying glass and burn them. But you know what? You can learn from ants. Watch how they do things. Watch how they organize. Watch how they do teamwork. Watch how they get their food ahead of time. And watch how little tiny ants conquer big things. And so you can get instruction. You're seeking knowledge enough to go watch an anthill. Okay? That's seeking knowledge. Proverbs 8. And verse 33. Hear instruction and be wise and refuse it not. Blessed is the man that heareth me and watching daily at my gates, waiting at the post of the doors, for whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favor of the Lord. Proverbs chapter 9, verse 8. It says, reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, he will love thee. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet the wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. Chapter 14, and verse 6. A scorner seeketh wisdom and findeth it not, but knowledge is easy unto him that understandeth. So you are a seeker of knowledge, and God gives you what you need. We'll get to that scorner part in a few minutes here, if I can get to it in time. Next, people do not learn because they're overconfident. Proverbs chapter 3, because they're overconfident. How many of you at a certain point in your life, you were overconfident and knew everything? How many of you were at that point sometime in your life? All right. And at that point, even people who knew more than you couldn't instruct you because you were overconfident. You thought nothing would ever go wrong. You had it all down. You had it all figured out. You know, I knew everything about marriage until I got married. And I found out these women are strange creatures. And I knew everything about, I was an expert on parenting. Then I had kids and wrote a whole bunch of good sermons I had on child rearing. And you know what? Look, you can be pretty overconfident and not listen when you could be listening and learning ahead of time and things like that because you know everything. Let's see, Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 7. It says, be not wise in thine own eyes, fear the Lord, and depart from evil. Chapter 14 and verse 16 says this, a wise man feareth and departeth from evil, but a fool rageth and is confident. Chapter 26, overconfidence. Proverbs 26 and verse 12, seest thou a man wise in his own conceit? There is more hope for a fool than of him. And so, wise your own conceit. Wise seek knowledge. Foolish won't listen to anyone. Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 15. It says, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise. You know, I found, not because of wisdom, but because of life, I have found prime years to teach people, and it's because of life, not because of they're wise. Prime years of teaching people is their 30s in our society. You know why that is? Is because in the 30s you start realizing, I have some issues here. I don't know. And now they have kids. Now they maybe are trying to figure out the finances better. They're not just trying to live in the apartment and, have food that day. Now they're trying to keep their health right. And now they're all of a sudden realize, you know what? I said I'd never get fat. Oh, what happened? And their kids are now have some challenges because their kids might be getting towards their teenage years or even 8 or 9. And all of a sudden they don't know everything. And all of a sudden they find out there's more to life. And they thought when they got to this point they'd be satisfied. And they're finding there's more to life. They need to learn about God. They start realizing I gotta get this in gear, this life thing, because in their 20s they thought I'm still young. I'll never get older. I got all the time in the world. In the 30s they realize they don't have all the time in the world. Life's getting on. And so 30-year-olds start coming to church, start listening real well. 40-year-olds, they start. They sometimes they listen good. And hopefully they do. But by the way, you can be in the 70s and listening real well. But the prime time in the 30s, because all of a sudden they realize I need to learn. I don't know everything. Everything I thought I knew, I didn't. I don't know everything. And all of a sudden, as we said, their parents became so much smarter. And their dad wasn't such an idiot when they realized all this stuff. Their mom knew something and all this stuff. And they might even ask questions to their parents now. They might, if their parents have anything to teach them. Now, I understand some parents, you don't ask them anything except for, how do you post bail? You don't know, you can't ask them anything. But understand, you start learning. And why? Because you're not so overconfident. That's why teenagers, they say, hire a teenager, well, they still know everything. Teenagers don't know they don't know everything because they're in this sphere of strong, have all the ability in the world, and are underneath this thing where their parents are taking care of them and they're not paying rent, and they're not paying, and they're underneath this shelter where all of a sudden they think, look at this, I got life all together, man. The girls think I'm cute. The guys think I'm cute. I'm strong and I'm healthy, and you know what? I know how to have fun, and I don't have any bills, I don't have any problems. I got it all together in life. And that's why they think they know everything. And that's why it's hard to instruct a 15-year-old or 17-year-old or 19-year-old that, look, listen, let me teach you about something. You can't yet, many times, if they're not very wise. Why? Once they start getting into life, they might realize they don't know everything. Right now, it seems like they got life by the horns. Okay? And they're not listening. And they think they can handle that relationship, and they can handle this, and I can be alone with a girl, and I can do this, and they're overconfident, and so they don't listen many times. Now, some do. Okay? But most of us, our brains departed between 12 and 20. And we knew everything, and we didn't know anything. And so there are times in your life where you go through phases where you really want to learn. And I just want to tell you this, and I got to finish. But you don't want to know how you'll be a person who always wants to learn and stay wise enough to be a learner? Do ministry work. All you have to do is do ministry work, and you'll say, God, I need more wisdom. Lord, I need to know. God, give me wisdom. And you will go seek wisdom from everybody everywhere. You'll seek counsel. You try to impact a life. You try to see a life transformed. You try to disciple somebody. You try to get your converts to church. You try to get your kids to turn out for God, and you will begin to start saying, "Lord, I need wisdom," and you'll start seeking wisdom. And someone walks up and says, "Hey, can I help you with can I help you a little bit with the way you're handling finance?" You're saying, "Sure." Can I? Look, do you know I listen to health things all the time? You know why? So I need to help people with their health a lot of times because they don't know anything about health and not taking care of their health. They're stuffing bacon and cheeseburgers in their mouth saying, "I don't know why I'm struggling with health," and all these things. And you know why I learned about finances? I know a lot about finances because a whole bunch of people don't know how to handle their finances and I want to help them. And child rearing and prayer and dealing with emotions and everything else. Why? You start ministering to people, you start realizing, I need to answer for people. I need to help people. And I don't know if, and by the way, people make great, incredible problems that'll keep you learning the rest of your life because people are very creative in their problems and can really mess up their lives in amazing ways. And you need to keep seeking wisdom, and you do that, and so if you begin to try to help people, you'll find out, Lord, I need wisdom, and you'll seek wisdom, and you'll seek knowledge, and you'll seek understanding, and you'll try to help people, and even you'll go to a person who doesn't seem like they know most things, but in 9 areas of their life they're knuckleheads, but in one area they're pretty smart, and you'll be wise enough to go ask them about that one area and ignore the 9 other knucklehead areas and don't listen to them. But you can, if you're wise enough to do that stuff, okay, and you get that stuff. So those are, I didn't finish up. There's other reasons we don't learn. Maybe I'll finish up. I'll run through them next week, Lord willing. We'll see. Yeah, I got 3 more points, so we're not going to get there. And but anyway, those are some reasons we don't learn. Amen. How many of us have been through those? How many of us have times and areas we've not been able to learn in because of ourselves? How many of us have been like that? See that? And so understand that with people. Understand, don't burn a relationship because someone won't listen to you right now. That foolish time might pass. Okay? And you want to keep their heart and not, try to instruct them, but if they won't listen, they despise you. And you're sorry. All right. Is that a 747 or 737 up there? And you just talk about something else.